Welcome back to WION World is One. You're watching Speed News with me, Vidur Kathuria. Let's get started. Iran says it has reached an understanding with the US on the main guiding principles for a deal to avoid conflict. The Omani-mediated talks were aimed at averting the possibility of US military intervention to curb Iran's nuclear program, weeks after thousands were killed in mass demonstrations. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi cleared that progress does not mean an agreement will be reached soon. Meanwhile, US Vice President J.D. Vance said in some ways the United States diplomatic talks with Iran went well as both parties agreed to meet afterward. However, he warned US made it clear where its red lines are. The United States is ready to carry out low-yield nuclear tests, ending a decades-old moratorium in response to alleged secret nuclear tests by China and Russia. This comes after expiration of the New START treaty with Russia. New START, the last treaty between both countries that limited deployment of nuclear warheads, expired this month as President Donald Trump called for a new agreement that also includes China. Ukrainian and Russian negotiators concluded the first of 2 days of US-mediated peace talks in Geneva, though neither side signaled they were any closer to ending Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II. Negotiations are set to continue today. The United States has been pushing for an end to the nearly 4-year war, but has failed to broker a compromise between Moscow and Kyiv on the key issue of territory. The 62nd Munich Security Conference concluded after leaders from the US and Europe clashed for days over the future of the transatlantic partnership and the global order, laying bare their rifts. The Munich Security Report 2026 described the current ERA as one of the wrecking ball politics, saying political forces favoring destruction over reform are gaining momentum across many Western societies, driven by disenchantment with the performance of democratic institutions. Many European delegates have arrived in Munich with heightened unease over US threats to capture key territories. The United States military says it has carried out deadly strikes on 3 alleged drug smuggling boats in the Eastern Pacific and the Caribbean. US Southern Command confirmed that a total of 11 people were killed in the operation. According to the US military, 4 people were killed on the first vessel in the Eastern Pacific, 4 more on a second boat in the same region, and 3 on a third vessel in the Caribbean. The command said no American military personnel were injured during the strikes. Garbage has begun to pile up on street corners in the Cuban capital of Havana, attracting hordes of flies and dumps reeking of rotten food. This is one of the most visible impacts of the US bid to prevent oil from reaching the Caribbean's largest island. Only 44 of Havana's 106 rubbish trucks were reportedly able to keep operating due to fuel shortages, slowing garbage collection. Cardboard boxes, used bags, plastics, bottles and rags have piled up on street corners across the seafront capital. Pedestrians and bikers are forced to circumvent the imposing heaps. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet said Thai forces were occupying Cambodian territory after fighting last year despite a peace accord brokered by US President Donald Trump. Hun Manet called on Thailand to allow a joint boundary commission to begin working on their disputed border. He traveled to Washington to attend a meeting of Trump's Board of Peace this week, saying he hoped the new body could play a role in de-escalating the situation on the border, which he described as fragile despite a December ceasefire that ended renewed fighting. The Vatican will not join US President Donald Trump's Board of Peace. Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Secretary of State, says the United Nations is the proper body to handle global crises. As the board raises concerns it could rival the UN. The board, launched by Trump at the World Economic Forum in Davos in January, was initially designed to oversee the Gaza truce and the territory's reconstruction after the war between Hamas and Israel. But its purpose has since expanded into resolving all sorts of international conflicts. India and France elevated bilateral relations to a special global strategic partnership. A range of cooperation measures spanning innovation, technology, trade and cultural exchanges were announced following talks between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron. PM Modi said the partnership reflected deep trust and would act as a force for global stability and global progress amid growing international uncertainty. The visit also produced an official list of outcomes detailing new institutional collaborations and economic agreements. The UK police have said they were assessing information in the Epstein files that women were trafficked by plane into Britain as pressure grows to probe ex-Prince Andrew's links to the flights. The short statement, referring to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and the Department of Justice in the US, did not reference Andrew. Former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown has been among high-profile figures urging police to probe the disgraced royal's link to dozens of flights dating back decades tied to Epstein. A fiery explosion that ripped through a church in upstate New York injured 5 people, including the pastor and firefighters. New York State Police were investigating the blast, which sent thick plumes of black smoke into the air at the Abundant Life Church in Boonville. The church, about 80 kilometers northeast of Syracuse, was reportedly heated by propane cylinders. Local firefighters were dispatched to the church, and 4 people were in the basement when the furnace turned on, triggering an explosion. One of the most promising leads yet in the investigation into the abduction of Nancy Guthrie proved a disappointment when DNA from a glove found near her Arizona home failed to score a match in a national database of genetic profiles. The outcome, announced by the Pima County Sheriff's Department and FBI, marked a major setback for investigators as the search for the 84-year-old mother of television journalist Savannah Guthrie stretched into its 17th day. Investigators hoped a DNA sample retrieved from the glove would produce a hit when submitted for comparison with known DNA profiles stored in a national database. The glove was found discarded in a roadside field. An 18-year-old man from Georgia was arrested by U.S. Capitol Police after running towards the west front of the U.S. Capitol with a loaded shotgun. Officers confronted him as he approached the building, ordered him to drop the weapon, and he complied before being taken into custody. Police found tactical gear included a vest, gloves, a helmet and gas mask in his vehicle and charged him with multiple weapons and firearms offenses. Authorities are still investigating his motive. No injuries have been reported. Peru's outgoing interim president, Jose Cherry, bids farewell at the doors of the presidential palace after Congress impeached him. Cherry was accused in the irregular hiring of several women in his government and of suspected graft involving a Chinese businessman. In office since last October, Jerry took over from unpopular leader Dina Boluarte, who was also impeached amid protests against corruption and a wave of violence linked to organized crime. Last week, prosecutors opened an investigation into the matter. However, Jerry has protected his innocence. U.S. civil rights leader and a close associate of Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Jesse L. Jackson, has died at the age of 84. Jackson, an eloquent Baptist minister and two-time presidential candidate, was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2017. A towering civil rights voice since the turbulent 1960s, he championed racial as well as voting and economic rights of Black Americans and other marginalized communities. For decades, while also weathering several controversies, civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton reflected on the life and legacy of Jackson, calling him a transformational figure who reshaped American politics. Members of Saudi Arabia's moon sighting committee announced that the holy month of Ramzan will begin in Saudi Arabia after spotting the crescent moon heralding the arrival of the Islamic month of fasting. During this month, Muslims do not eat or drink from dawn to dusk. They start their day with a pre-dawn meal and break their day-long fast with iftar. Ramzan is the 9th month of the Islamic calendar, which involves rigorous fasting for about a month. Two major fires are burning in the Oklahoma Panhandle, this in addition to over 40 fires that have pushed into town. The fires have prompted emergency evacuation zone in western Woodward and South Oklahoma neighborhoods, stretching from 48th Street East to 13th Street. Residents inside that zone are being urged to leave immediately due to rapidly changing fire behavior and shifting winds. Indian Air Force helicopters are battling wildfires on two fronts, conducting relentless aerial firefighting missions in challenging terrains of Arunachal Pradesh. Nearly 140,000 litres of water have been dropped at WION, successfully extinguishing the blaze. Simultaneously, operations continue over Zokou Valley in Nagaland, with helicopters drawing water from nearby lake to battle fires. Mexico City remained on air pollution alert as authorities kept phase 1 of an environmental contingency in place across the metropolitan area due to elevated ozone levels. City halls forecast light winds and temperatures of up to 27 degrees Celsius, with ozone expected to peak between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. local time, with weather conditions seen changing little. Ozone concentrations were likely to fall in the very poor range on the Air and Health Index. Authorities urged residents to avoid outdoor activities, work remotely, and where possible and complete tasks online, while also restricting the number of vehicles allowed to circulate. Weeks of relentless rain have left parts of southern England underwater, with rivers swelling to record highs and communities struggling to cope. Aerial footage shows Salisbury's playgrounds and car parks submerged, with floodwaters creeping into backyards and surrounding farmland. What was once solid ground now resembles a shallow lake, with daily life disrupted across the region. Experts say the problem isn't just overflowing rivers. Soil across the south has become so saturated that water is now rising directly through the ground, adding to the flooding. Lithuania's Vilnius airport has resumed operations shortly after they were halted due to weather balloons from Belarus entering its airspace. The airport, located some 30 kilometers from Belarus, has been closed more than 10 times since early October in 2025 over similar incidents. Coming up next, the US dollar held firm on Wednesday as investors tracked geopolitical developments and awaited minutes from the Federal Reserve for cues on future rate cuts. We tell you more on the other side of Speed News. Welcome back to Speed News. Time for all the business stories now. Asian markets edged higher on Wednesday, even as global investors wrestled with renewed uncertainty over the artificial intelligence boom. Japan's Nikkei 225 climbed 0.93% to 57,090, snapping a three-day losing streak, while Australia's ASX 200 gained 0.5%. On Wall Street, gains were modest. The Dow rose 0.07%, the S&P 500 added 0.10%, and the Nasdaq gained 0.14% after the S&P initially fell nearly 0.9% before recovering. Investors remain cautious about whether companies are over-investing in AI and how the technology may disrupt jobs and profits. Oil prices edged lower on Wednesday as progress in US-Iran nuclear talks raised hopes of easing tensions and reduced fears of supply disruptions. Brent crude slipped to $67.39 a barrel, hovering near two-week lows. Iran's foreign minister said the two sides agreed on key guiding principles, though analysts caution a full deal is not imminent. Additional pressure came from rising output at Kazakhstan's Tengiz oil field, expected to reach full capacity by February 23rd. Investors are now watching US inventory data, with crude stockpiles forecast to rise by 2.3 million barrels last week. The US dollar held firm on Wednesday as investors tracked geopolitical developments and awaited minutes from the Federal Reserve for clues on future rate cuts. The dollar index stood at 97.16, little changed after a two-day rise. The euro eased to approximately $1.18, while the yen held at 153.23 per dollar. Sterling slipped to approximately $1.35. The New Zealand dollar was the biggest mover, sliding 0.4% to $0.6016 after the Reserve Bank of New Zealand kept rates unchanged at 2.25% and signaled policy would remain accommodative. Geopolitics stayed in focus as Iran reported progress in nuclear talks with the US, while Ukraine and Russia continued US-mediated peace discussions in Geneva. Meanwhile, Bitcoin fell 0.7% to almost $67,000 as thin Lunar New Year trading kept broader currency moves contained. The European Union has launched a formal probe into Shein over illegal products and concerns about addictive app design. The action comes under the bloc's Digital Services Act, which forces online platforms to tackle harmful and illegal content. The move follows pressure from France, which had urged a crackdown on the sale of childlike sex dolls on the platform. Shein says it has now stopped selling all sex dolls globally and is cooperating with the EU authorities. Spain's Premier Football League, La Liga, has won a court order against major VPN providers in a crackdown on illegal match streaming. The order, backed by broadcast partner Telefónica, forces NordVPN and ProtonVPN to block access to 16 piracy websites in Spain. The court has directed the VPN firms to make the targeted IP addresses inaccessible on Spanish networks with immediate effect. La Liga says the ruling recognizes VPN services as technology intermediaries responsible for preventing copyright violations under European digital rules. The British Academy of Film and Television Arts has confirmed a heavyweight guest list for this Sunday's ceremony as the race for the 2026 BAFTA Film Awards reaches its peak. Leading the charge are Hollywood titans Leonardo DiCaprio, Michael B. Jordan and Rose Byrne. The winners will be announced on February 22nd in London. The event will be hosted by actor Alan Cumming. British singer-songwriter Charlie XCX walked the red carpet for the UK premiere of her upcoming mockumentary film, The Moment. The 360 and Worn Dutch hitmaker paired an all-black ensemble with thigh-high boots at the premiere, which took place at London's Picture House Central. The film director and Charlie XCX frequent collaborator Aidan Zamiri was also in attendance, along with cast members Alexander Skarsgård and Jamie Demetriou. The Moment premiered earlier at this year's Sundance Film Festival and was later screened at the Berlin Film Festival on February 14th. The film opens in UK cinemas on February 20th. Bruce Springsteen is bringing his pointed political commentary back to American stages this spring. The rock icon and the E Street Band announced Tuesday that launch of their Land of Hope and Dreams American tour starting March 31st in Minneapolis, kicking off a 20-date run that blends arena rock with a message centered on democracy, freedom, and what Springsteen calls the defense of the American ideal. The tour concludes on May 27th with an outdoor performance in Washington, D.C. That's it on this edition of Speed News. News and updates will continue on the other side of this short break. Keep watching me on World is One.